Arnott MEP for UKIP, because UKIP's manifesto was launched today. We had a problem with the line, but thank you, Jonathan, for joining us back again. We've tried our best to get you back, but you're with us.
No problem. Good afternoon again.
So wonderful. So we got to the manifesto. So give us the headlines out of the manifesto that was launched today.
Okay, well, first of all, we're talking about investing an extra $11 billion per year into the NHS and to social care by the end of the next Parliament. That's something that we think needs to happen because the NHS is desperately in need of funding, in particular mental health, which is something which has been left out for far too long. We're talking about raising the threshold for paying income tax to $13,500, again, from the point of view of meaning that people who are on a low wage are in a position where they're not paying any income tax at all. That should just help money to go a little bit further. And similarly, we're looking at a cost of living package, including cuts on cutting VAT from certain areas, things like hot takeaway food, women's sanitary products, etc., which again should help people's money to go a little bit further. We're going to then fund all of those kinds of things by scrapping HS2, reasonable cuts to the foreign aid budget, and of course the net savings that we make from leaving the EU in a couple of years' time. So we're really trying to make sure that the pound in everybody's pocket goes that little bit further. We've got a lot of policies in terms of helping people to help themselves, whether it's building new housing, new affordable housing. The difference with UKIP is we're saying exactly how we're going to do it and make sure that those houses on brownfield sites actually are built rather than just existing on paper. So there's many things that we're trying to do, but the fundamental theme is we want to make sure that we've got the freedom, independence, and democracy back into our country.
But the costs. Let's look at the costs a little bit, because you say put $11 billion every year into the NHS and social care by 2022. That money will come from where? Okay,
so we're talking about phasing overseas aid down to 0.2% of GNI, which is pretty much the same rate as America did under Obama. Mm-hmm. We're talking about cancelling the HS2, which frankly is a bit of a white elephant. Obviously, we're paying our memberships to the EU.
Just to let you know, John, we just lost you a little bit there. What is the actual cost of the foreign aid budget rather than percentage? What is it in actual physical cash?
At the moment, it's around about $13 billion a year. It's going to be going up, according to the government's projections, substantially from that.
Mm. So how much are you going to cut from that?
We're going to cut in year one. You'd be talking $6 billion, and then by year 5, you'd be talking $11 billion.
Right.
From what the current projections are. So we're basing our figures on the current government projections and saying that actually you can do an awful lot on a lot less money because you make sure that you prioritise. You stop sending money to countries like North Korea. You stop sending money to countries in the G20, to countries with nuclear space programs.
But the top 6 aid budgets, well, the top 5, Ethiopia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nigeria and Syria, all these countries have been affected in some way, shape or form by war. It would affect those countries, wouldn't it?
Well, it depends what you're spending the money on, because of course the sorts of things that should be the foreign aid budget should be spent on. Of course, the things that are things that will continue to fund. So things like
the UN,
clean water supplies and so on. But sorry,
would you carry on? Because I think 37% at the moment goes into the UN. Would you continue with that?
Probably not at that level. But again, I mean, the point about foreign aid is that I think the whole model is broken because aid actually makes very little difference to countries' economies. What we should be doing is actually building up trade, because trade is what develops those economies, gives people chance in those countries to get jobs and so on. What we want is free and fair trade with those countries. That's what actually builds up their economies and creates economies in those countries for the future. When you put too much in through aid in the wrong way, you create dependence. So what we're trying to do here is trying to move away from giving aid in too many different areas, spending money often faster than we should, and moving into instead a system where post Brexit, of course, we will be in the position to sign our own trade deals, and we can stop the punitive tariffs that are actually what are pushing countries down.
I must stop you there, but thank you ever so much for persevering with us. Jonathan Arnott there, the UKIP MEP, talking about the manifesto launch today.
BBC Tees.